Kaspa KAS Price Prediction Analysis. Is KAS falling apart? KAS is down more than 80% from its all-time high. As prices continue to go down, many are starting to assume that Kaspa has no more room for growth. But is that the whole story? In today's video, Crypto Radar will take a look at the key data to assess the potential of Kaspa and what could really determine the price of KAS in the coming years. Let's explore now. Crypto Radar. If you just look at the price movement, it is probably not difficult to understand why more and more investors are starting to lose confidence in Kaspa. In crypto, price is always a huge factor affecting market sentiment. When Kaspa continues to grow and set new highs, investors often focus on technology, growth potential, and positive stories such as Kaspa $10 or buy Kaspa before it goes to the moon. But when the price drops sharply, the perspective of the market also quickly changes. The praise gradually disappears, replaced by questions such as, is Kaspa dead? Or can KAS go back to its previous peak? However, a strong price increase cannot by itself prove the project's long-term value. What determines the real potential of Kaspa Crypto remains its ability to scale the ecosystem, attract users, and generate real-world usage demand. If these factors are not clearly proven, the market will find it difficult to maintain a high valuation in the long term. That's why many investors are still wary of Kaspa. The Layer 1 Kaspa ecosystem is still quite small compared to many other Layer 1 blockchains. Ethereum is still at the heart of DeFi with tens of billions of dollars of assets locked in protocols. If you want to learn more about Ethereum and its ecosystem, Crypto Radar has already published a detailed analysis video about this coin that you can check out for more insights. Solana has built a large ecosystem with a series of DeFi applications, meme coins, and Web3, and even later blockchains like Sui and Aptos have quickly attracted a large number of developers thanks to strong financial resources and support from investment funds. Meanwhile, the number of decentralized applications, DeFi activity, and on-chain cash flow on Kaspa is still quite modest. Looking at this chart, you can see that the on-chain activity has dropped quite sharply compared to the previous period, even though KAS has had impressive price increases before. This shows that the biggest challenge of the project at the moment is not the technology, but whether the project can build an ecosystem attractive enough to attract more users and developers. Not only that, some of Kaspa's on-chain data is also showing some noteworthy signals. Currently, about 89% of KAS that investors hold are still at a loss, while just over 10% of the supply is in profit. This means that the majority of holders are still under pressure when KAS prices have not been able to return to previous price areas. Besides, another problem for Kaspa lies in the distribution of supply. The largest group of 0.01% of wallet addresses currently hold about 38% of the total circulating supply of KAS. Notably, this percentage has increased quite sharply in 2025 and is still going up. This suggests that tokens are increasingly concentrated in a small group of large investors. And if these wallets reduce their holdings or sell off large amounts of KAS, the market is likely to face greater volatility pressure. In addition to intrinsic factors, Kaspa Coin is also influenced by the change of cash flow throughout the crypto market. In each cycle, capital flows are usually focused on the most attractive narratives. Recently, the focus has been on Bitcoin ETFs, altcoins in the AI sector, real-world assets, and stablecoins, while traditional Layer 1 blockchains are no longer in the spotlight as they were in 2021. When no longer in the mainstream of the market, even fundamentally strong projects will have more difficulty attracting new cash flow, and Kaspa is no exception. Overall, the above factors have made the market sentiment for Kaspa more cautious. However, this does not mean that Kaspa has lost all its potential. Besides the weaknesses that need improvement, the project still possesses some unique advantages that can become a driving force for KAS crypto prices in the future. What are those factors? Crypto Radar will analyze these factors in detail Although the current market sentiment for Kaspa Crypto Coin is quite cautious, there are some factors that prevent this project from completely losing investors' interest. The first is the supply story. According to the release roadmap, the majority of the total supply of KAS has already been put into circulation, while the number of newly issued tokens will gradually decrease over time. This is also a notable point in the tokenomics of KAS. Instead of reducing the mining reward by 50% every 4 years like Bitcoin, Kaspa drops by about 5.6% per month, helping the amount of new KAS issued decrease steadily over time. That means that the selling pressure from new supply will gradually decrease over time. In addition, Kaspa also chooses a fair launch model similar to Bitcoin, which does not pre-allocate the supply to the development team or early investors. This is a difference from many Layer 1 blockchains today, which often have a portion of the supply allocated to the team, development fund, or early investors. The fact that the majority of the supply has already been distributed and there is no large amount of internal tokens that need to be unlocked helps Kaspa reduce the risk of sell-offs due to new supply in the future. Besides tokenomics, the technology is also one of the points that many people who started Kaspa analysis pay attention to this project. Instead of using a linear blockchain model like Bitcoin, Kaspa adopts the block DAG architecture and the ghost DAG algorithm, which allows for the processing of multiple blocks in parallel to improve the speed of transaction confirmation. This is an approach aimed at solving the proof-of-work scaling problem. However, compared to Layer 1 blockchains with a growing application ecosystem, Kaspa still lacks some key pieces, such as the ability to support Kaspa smart contracts, which could play a big role in future Kaspa updates, especially as the project expands its support for DeFi, NFT, and decentralized applications. Overall, Kaspa still possesses a number of factors that can support future growth. However, in the long term, the most important question remains whether the project can convert technological advantages into practical use value and create sustainable demand for KAS. So what factors will determine the price of KAS in the coming years? According to Crypto Radar, the key factor will lie in Kaspa's ability to develop a large enough ecosystem with real users, applications, and cash flow. In crypto, technology is only the initial foundation, while the long-term value of a blockchain often comes from the level of application, liquidity, and actual activity on the network. Therefore, in the coming time, investors need to pay more attention to indicators that reflect the health of the ecosystem, such as the number of active wallets, on-chain transactions, TVL, or the speed of development of new applications. If these data continue to improve, it will be a signal that Kaspa is slowly generating real demand, rather than just relying on expectations and speculation from the market. Besides intrinsic factors, the KAS price will also be heavily influenced by the overall trend of the crypto market. In each cycle, cash flow often prioritizes prominent narratives such as AI, RWA, or new trends, making it difficult for projects that are out of focus to attract attention. Conversely, if the market turns back on interest in Layer 1 or proof-of-work blockchains, Kaspa could have more opportunities to be revalued. So in the event that Kaspa makes progress in technology, ecosystem, and application level, how much can the market value KAS in the future? Let's take a look at this at the end of the video. To assess the future price potential of Kaspa, it is not enough to just look at the decline from the previous peak. In the crypto market, the price of a token ultimately still reflects the valuation that the market is willing to give the entire network. So, rather than just focusing on how much KAS has fallen, the more important question is whether Kaspa can expand its position and receive a higher valuation from the market in the coming years. At the time Crypto Radar made this video, Kaspa was trading around $0.028 with a market cap of less than $1 billion. This is significantly lower than the strong growth period in 2024 when Kaspa once reached a market cap of nearly $5 billion and attracted huge attention from the crypto community. If, during a new growth cycle, Kaspa can return to its previous all-time high, the price of KAS could reach around $1.20, representing an increase of approximately 7 times from the current level. However, for this scenario to happen, it would not only require the broader market to enter a bullish trend, but Kaspa itself would also need to prove that the project can maintain its appeal, continue growing, and remain competitive against the new blockchains emerging in the market. The most important factor determining Kaspa's ability to be revalued will be whether the project is able to translate technological advantages into actual use value. In the context of the increasingly competitive Layer 1 market, when many blockchains are backed by large investment funds and possess strong resources to develop the ecosystem, Kaspa not only needs to maintain its technological edge, but also expand the number of applications, improve liquidity, and increase actual usage demand on the network. This is the foundation for the project to have the opportunity to achieve a higher valuation in the long term. Beyond the current technology and ecosystem development, Kaspa's future roadmap will also play an important role in determining whether the market is willing to assign it a higher valuation. Instead of only focusing on improving transaction speed, Kaspa is also aiming to expand the network's capabilities with more programmable features and stronger infrastructure for decentralized applications. Future improvements in scalability, smart contract functionality, and developer tools could help Kaspa attract more users and developers over time. However, the impact of these developments will also depend on how effectively Kaspa can convert these improvements into broader adoption, stronger network activity, and sustainable growth over time. In a more optimistic scenario, if Kaspa is gradually recognized by the market as a Layer 1 blockchain with higher status, the market cap of the project can surpass the previous peak. At that time, market cap milestones ranging from several billion to tens of billions of dollars will become important benchmarks during a strong market cycle. However, these are still scenarios based on many assumptions. Crypto history has proven that many blockchains have reached market caps of billions of dollars thanks to huge expectations from the market, but then gradually lost their positions when they could not maintain the speed of development or build an ecosystem capable of creating sustainable value. On the contrary, there are also projects that have been quietly developing for years before being revalued by the market thanks to the tangible progress of the product and ecosystem. That shows that the value of a blockchain is not only dependent on technology, but also determined by the performance and acceptance of the market over time. Kaspa still has many opportunities ahead, but will also face many challenges. So instead of just looking at price movements in the short term, what is more worth observing will be how the project develops and asserts its position in the coming years. That is the basis for assessing whether KAS is truly entering a new growth cycle. Okay, that's all the analysis and Kaspa price prediction today that Crypto Radar wants to share with everyone. Whether you're following the latest Kaspa news or looking for a long-term Kaspa price prediction 2030, always remember to do your own research carefully before making any investment decisions. What coin do you want Crypto Radar to analyze next? Leave the coin name in the comments below. It may be analyzed in the next video on the channel. And if you find the video useful, do not forget to like and subscribe to the Crypto Radar channel so you don't miss our in-depth analysis videos on altcoins and major trends in the crypto market. And as always, please remember that the content shared in this video is based on my own research and personal opinions and should not be considered financial or investment advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions and invest responsibly. Crypto Radar disclaims all responsibility related to the results of your transactions and your assets. Thank you for watching the video. See you in the next video.